Good afternoon. I'm Larry Klayman. You know me as the founder of both Judicial Watch and now Freedom Watch. I'm also a former federal prosecutor. I ran for the United States Senate in Florida in 2003. I came out and founded Freedom Watch at that time. I'm going to tell you a story this morning which is very relevant because we see a lot of so-called fake news in the media, particularly from reputable, in quotes, news organizations like CNN. Frankly, CNN has no credibility anymore, and President Trump, we're going to show you a little clip, actually addressed that this morning. It's going over the edge. It's no longer the Clinton News Network, it's the Clinton and Communist News Network. And let me tell you why it is, because ironically, they and others are saying that Russia hacked not just the accounts of the Democratic National Committee and the email account of John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's former campaign chairman, but they dug up dirt, that is, harvested financial and other confidential information about Donald Trump to blackmail him. Now, whether that's the case or not, the real story that hasn't been reported is an individual by the name of Dennis Montgomery. He was an NSA and CIA contractor, and he has come forward to the FBI with 47 hard drives, 600 million pages of information, showing that the CIA illegally was spying on Americans, prominent Americans, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, other justices, about 156 judges, prominent businessmen like Trump, myself. In 2007, they got my banking records because obviously they saw me as an adversary. That was in the days leading up to Obama, second term. And the reality here is that we're in a situation where our own government is most likely the source of getting the confidential information of Donald Trump to blackmail him. It's most likely that it was the CIA and NSA that did this. Now, I went to the Federal Bureau of Investigation through a federal judge in Washington, Royce Lamberth, who I trusted. He contacted the general counsel of the FBI, James Baker, who was working with then FBI Director James Comey. We then got immunity for Dennis Montgomery by going to the U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington, D.C., and a very fine assistant U.S. attorney named Deborah Curtis worked with us to give Montgomery immunity. And that's when he came forward with all this information. Now, about a year and a half ago, he gave testimony to the FBI, two special agents, one by the name of William Giardina and the other by the name of William Bennett. And this kind of thing is in front of the FBI right now. They are looking at this information, and the FBI has this within its possession. Now, I don't know whether the FBI buried this or not, but it's time that news organizations started to take note that what Montgomery may have given, and I've never seen any of it because some of it's classified. I don't get into that. I'm not David Kendall, the lawyer of the Clintons, that would look at that kind of thing, which is not right and it's not legal. So the FBI has this, and I trust that real news organizations, not fake news organizations like CNN, will make inquiries. I've recently gone to the House Judiciary Committee, Bob Goodlatte's committee, and asked them to inquire of the FBI as to what's happening. James Comey will appear in front of that committee. He could be asked questions. So it's very important that we understand that our own intelligence agencies aren't digging up dirt on the president and others. That's the most likely source if there was dirt, quote unquote. We're not sure that that was dirt at all or that it was harmful at all. But if they're digging up confidential financial information, that could be used to blackmail. And we've seen in the past, because we had a lawsuit, you all know about that. You can go to freedomwatchusa.org, freedomwatchusa.org, where we sued the NSA and the other intelligence agencies for obtaining the telephonic metadata, that's our telephonic communications, of hundreds of millions of Americans without probable cause that they were committing any crime or communicating with terrorists. This is illegal under the Fourth Amendment, and a federal judge in Washington, one of the few good ones in the federal court there, in addition to Judge Lamberth, made a ruling that this was a violation of the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution and ordered that it stopped. That gave rise to new legislation in Congress called the USA Freedom Act. So now the telephone companies keep the data until they get a warrant, in effect, saying there's probable cause that they need it, that someone's committing a crime or communicating with terrorists. So we've done a lot of good here at Freedom Watch. That may have been the biggest victory in the history of government litigation that we scored. But the bigger point here is that we have a big brother in this country. Judge Leon recognized that in his rulings. Again, go to freedomwatchusa.org and see what he wrote. Or go up on the internet, you'll see it. Is that The potential exists here for these intelligence agencies who have their own agenda. They're more powerful than even the President of the United States. They may be in a type of alternative government here to influence the decision-making of not just the President, but others like the Supreme Court Justice. Does their surveillance, for instance, that Dennis Montgomery came forward with to the FBI, explain why Chief Justice John Roberts flipped on Obamacare at the last minute, finding that it wasn't a tax and then finding that it was a tax, and in fact ruling that it was constitutional? Does that explain that? And that's the risk that we face, and that's why the news agencies and reputable networks, ones that really want to report the truth, not like CNN, that has become so perverted that it's become more than a joke. That's why these news organizations have to burrow in and ask real questions. A lot of these national security reporters that you're seeing on television don't want to offend these intelligence agencies because their livelihood depends on confidential sources from those agencies. But they have to put that aside in the interest of the United States, in the interest of we the people, and start reporting actual news rather than rumor and innuendo. Yes, Russia's a bad actor. Yes, Putin is a dictator. Yes, they are our adversaries. They are our enemies. But they may not have been responsible, or maybe there were others that were responsible as well, such as our intelligence agencies. Maybe even our intelligence agencies are working with them to some extent. That happens. So I take this to you today because it's important for the American people to speak out, is that President-elect Trump cannot do it alone, and it needs to be done by a reputable and honest media that will probe into these things and not take hook, line, and sinker what these very corrupt intelligence agencies say for their own benefit. So that's my message. Go to freedomwatchusa.org, see what we're doing in this area. We are the mouse that roared. You know, even the leftist ACLU, which is aligned to CNN, MSNBC, and the rest of these leftist forces in this country that are trying to bring the country down, they didn't accomplish this. It was your Freedom Watch that actually successfully sued the NSA and other intelligence agencies. And at least in terms of the USA Freedom Act, got new legislation which should be respected. Whether it is or not, we're going forward in those cases to find out, and if not, there will be a price to pay in the federal court of Richard Leon in Washington, D.C. God bless you, God bless your family, God save America.
Michael Cohen.
Sir, since you're attacking us, can you give us a question?
Go
since
ahead.
No, Mr. President-elect.
Go ahead.
President-elect,
Go ahead.
since you are attacking our news organization, can you give us a chance?
Your organization
You are
is
attacking
terrible.
our news organization.
Your organization
Can you give us a
is
chance
terrible.
to ask a question, sir?
Go ahead.
Sir, can
Quiet.
you state,
Quiet.
Mr. President-elect,
Go ahead.
can you state
She's asking
categorically,
a question. Don't
Mr.
be rude.
President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be
You're
rude.
attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
Can you
No, I'm
give
not
us a
going to give you a
question?
question. I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir,
Go ahead.
Can you